Hello and welcome back to a new IELTS Express lesson. Today's lesson is not about vocabulary, grammar, or how to write an academic task one summary or an essay. It's all about analyzing sample answers. And exactly what I said before in the description of this series. You might see a lot of sample answers, band 9 sample answers, and for example, this is what you have to do, or this is what you have to write to get band 9 in writing. But you know what I was thinking? Maybe there are people who don't actually have the time to prepare to get band 9 because learning grammar and vocabulary takes time, and it's a long process. You don't simply learn overnight. I'm going to make a lesson about the fact that you cannot simply get from band 5 to band 7 in a week. There might be candidates who might say that, hey, the university that I want to apply to doesn't actually require for me to have band 9, so band 5 or 5.5 will do. So basically, we're going to get back to basics, and we're going to analyze an academic writing task to a summary for somebody who wants to get band 5 or 5.5. And I will start by talking whether or not sample IELTS answers are actually worthwhile or not. And actually, after that, I'm going to give you a few tips. I don't know, some things that maybe you haven't thought about before writing your or planning your summary or your essay. Now, before we begin this lesson properly, I just feel I should give you some sort of a disclaimer. Now, band 9 sample answers are probably not as useful or important as you might think. And there are a few things that you must consider before you use them. Now, firstly, not all essays or summaries or sample answers that are labeled as band 9 sample answers are really good enough to get band 9 in a real IELTS test. And as I've seen this many times before here and elsewhere, and I said it before during my classes, most IELTS materials are made, sadly, by people who can actually speak English very well or don't understand the exam. There are a lot of so-called experts on social media, on Instagram, Reddit, WhatsApp, so on and so forth. And these people tend to write the essays or summaries that are crammed of words they found in the dictionary, which are mostly incorrectly used. And these are absolutely not helpful. So, yes, in this, taken all into the consideration, I mean, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. You should use the sample answers, either mine or anyone else's, but you shouldn't view them as something you need to copy in any way or to memorize them. Yeah, you can use them instead for inspiration, or maybe you can find some words or phrases that they are helpful, or maybe the structure or the grammar is different that in your essay. And maybe you can find out that the way their ideas, the other people's ideas, are put forth in a different way, or maybe you can find some interesting ideas you haven't thought about. So yes, this is the only way you can use the sample answers, but not by simply memorizing them. I mean, to be quite honest, I really think about it. How can you actually memorize so many sample answers? I mean, there are topics that you might encounter in the actual exam, but to memorize them, that's quite difficult. So all in all, of course, sample band 9 answers, yes, they can be helpful, but you shouldn't be overly reliant upon them. All right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with task 1. We're going to start with summary for band 5 or 5.5, and I'm going to give you a few tips along the line, starting from analyzing the question, structuring your answer, planning, and then writing. Now, this is all about it's a walkthrough, so you won't have activities to do. There won't be anything for you to solve. It's all about, I don't know, having a look at some sample answers and then taking some notes if you want to. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with the first thing, understand the task, which is pretty much similar to the other lessons that I've been teaching and the other series, focusing on task 1 and on task 2. So this is the question. This is basically what you're going to see in your exam, on your exam paper. Mine is the part where the chart is colored. I'm not really sure if you have it in color. I think it's black and white. It's pretty much something similar to what you have to what you have over here. Now you're going to have this part, yeah? So you have the question. The chart below gives information about the number of social networking sites people use, and then you also have the instruction which you have to use very carefully. And it's very important for you to circle or to underline the keywords. And you should be spending around 2 to 3 minutes doing this, reading the question very carefully. Remember that the word below serves as a pointer. You don't have to use it in your summary. And then you have to read the instructions to see exactly what you have to do. Now, remember that on your exam paper, you are allowed to doodle, to circle, to underline, doesn't really matter. What matters is what you write on your answer sheet. Also, write at least 150 words. This is extremely important. Most of the time is overlooked. Yeah, you have to write at least 150 words. I recommend you go somewhere above 10 to 15%, like 150, 170. That's totally fine. Then you have the visual cue. And here we have a bar chart. Again, spend 1 or 2 minutes to understand the difference between the bar charts in each pair. Here you have them colored. Be careful what the visual cue shows and what it doesn't show, and also the legend, which you have over here. So green is 2014, blue is 2015. All right. And then exactly what I said, pay attention to the labels so that you know what you need to write about. Now, you should spend roughly 1 to 1.5 minutes on this part, understanding the task. All right? And again, look at how the relationship between the two bars changes. You might circle information which is important to you. All right. Now, what we have to do is to plan the summary. This is the plan that I recommend. Introduction, which is the paraphrase of the question that you have in the exam. Overview, yeah, which is the main idea to identify the main trends in the chart. It's basically, if you have a bird's eye view, what are the two most significant things that jump right at you? And then 2 body paragraphs in which you describe everything in detail and you use data to back up your ideas. So basically you have a 4-paragraph summary. And I strongly recommend you write the overview right after the introduction. So you start from the most general, yeah, to the most specific. You have like a funnel. General, you narrow it down, you give like a preview, then you get into more details. And the second reason why I recommend you write the overview right after the introduction is because a lot of candidates forget to write it and they leave it towards the end after the second paragraph, and they don't have enough time and they forget to write it and then they get penalized. All right, this is what you should be doing in terms of planning. So we're going to have a look at the model answer. Now remember, this is for band 5 to 5.5. So again, the language, the vocabulary is more simplistic. Okay, introduction. We've got the bar chart shows the number of social networking sites visited by internet users in the USA. First of all, you have to introduce the topic of the visual cue. It's really important to try as much as possible to paraphrase the original sentence. Again, it's really important not to change the name of the chart. It's a bar chart, so keep it that way. Why would you like to change it? Okay, one sentence, that's easy. One sentence, that's the introduction. Paraphrase, don't change the name of the chart. Then the overview, which is very important. I recommend you start with overall, yeah, because it serves as a pointer overall. So the big picture is, it can be seen from the data, which is a very impersonal phrase. It can be seen. I've seen people who write "we can see." Yeah, that's totally fine. But since it's a summary and it's a very objective piece of writing, it's very mathematical. You interpret what you see. I would suggest to go with the impersonal phrase. It can be seen from the data that. And in the overview, which is one sentence long in this situation, you have to describe the main trend or trends. Now, so far we've got 2 sentences, right? So we have written the introduction, we have given the big picture, now we have to get into details. All right, this is the first paragraph. And I would like you to have a look. We've got 1, 2, 3 sentence paragraph, but the sentences are not simple sentences. These are complex sentences. And just by looking at this paragraph, I don't have to read it. I can see lots of numbers. So the ideas that and the sentences that make the paragraph are backed up by data from the bar chart. Okay, let's see exactly why this is a good paragraph. So first of all, you have to write about the main feature. Here you have to mention some of the most significant features shown in the chart. And here we're talking about the proportion of the social networking sites. So we have here a synonym, proportion, instead of percentage. We also have some connectives to show contrast. Now remember, in the question at the beginning, in the question of the task, it says that summarize and make comparisons. We have although, contrast in both years. We have comparing when you compare the both of them. However, right? And then again, everything is supported by data to make comparisons. 36%, 22% into da 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 da. And what I also like to show you is that there are also verbs plus adverbs. Declined sharply. Decreased instead of declined, so synonyms. So even though this is for band 5.5, the vocabulary is satisfactory. I really like it. It's clear, it's easy to understand. I can see contrast, I can see comparison. All right? And as I said, write about the similarities in both years. All right. And the verb and adverb to show change. The second paragraph, it starts with in contrast. The percentages, again here, percentages instead of proportion. So again, synonyms. Who reporting 2 sites, 3, 4 sites, and 5 sites. Now that gives away that this is a band 5, 2 sites, 3, 4 sites, and 5 sites. Yeah, I said 2 to 5 sites all grew over the period analyzed. So we've got linking devices in this situation. In contrast, it shows the connection between the sentences in the paragraph. Synonyms, proportion or percentages. Now, use synonyms where possible. There are certain situations or certain words that don't always have synonyms. For example, women are females, and that's kind of it. Men are males, but boys, you cannot say them young males. So there are certain words which, yes, have synonyms or can be paraphrased. Others might sound a little bit weird if you try to use synonyms. Okay? And again, just by looking at the paragraph, I can see data. I can see comparison with only 2% compared to 4%. And exactly what I said, try to use a variety of verbs like grow, fell, increase, decrease to describe trends. And this has two sentences. So we had one sentence in the introduction, another one in the overview, that was 2, 3 in the first paragraph, that's 5, plus 2 here, that's 7. 7 sentences. You might say, oh yeah, sure, I can write 7 sentences in 20 minutes. But these are just complex sentences, and these are the result of planning beforehand. Okay? And again, we have identified the main difference in the chart and make comparisons where possible. And guess what? That's all, my friends. So this was the first walkthrough to see exactly how you should be writing task 1 summary if you're aiming at band 5 and 5.5. It's not very difficult. Trust me, you can do it. All you have to do is to plan beforehand. I cannot stress this enough. Planning is crucial. I know 20 minutes is not a lot of luxury, but if you take 3 minutes at the beginning to read and to understand the task, to underline to see exactly what you have to do, 15 minutes to actually write what you're supposed to write, and that will leave you with 2 more minutes if my math is okay. Yeah, that will leave you with 2 more minutes towards the end to reread what you have written, revise and refine, check for mistakes, spelling, grammar. And trust me, if you do this constantly and consistently, you're going to get the band score you need, be it 5, 5.5, 7, 8, or even 9. And that's it. Thank you very much for having me today. If you found this lesson useful, I would really appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, or share with your friends, anything that might help this channel grow. And stay tuned because next lesson is going to be an analysis for academic writing task 2, an essay. That will be all from me. Take care. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye bye.